in. Boom.
We'll just get water.
And I'm going to go back to the drawing board with Instagram, Katie, and I'm going to see if I can somehow or another figure out exactly what I need to do in order for them to allow us to start going live on the shows. So we'll see. What is this? Hang on.
That'd be great. I have a pretty big audience on Instagram. That'd be great. I mean, not like big, but you know what I mean. It's not like 10 people.
It's 10 people?
No, I'm kidding. I mean big, like it's not 500,000, but it's not 5 people. That's what I mean.
Well, the consciousness of Mother Mary told me on the Lions Gate in 2016 that it's not about the numbers, that if you really are putting out the heartfelt expressions, that you can multiply the number of engagements by 50,000. That's what her explanation was in terms of like the energetic field, and I have to believe it because I've seen too much evidence. I've seen a lot of evidence of this in the past. Well, I got banned on the 27th of December. I'd say over the last 2 weeks, certainly the last 10 days, I've seen a tremendous amount of proof and evidence of what she said and what I'm explaining to you. So yeah, there's some. Hey, today's the day of the fire horse. It's the new year, for Christ's sake. I mean, come on, we're having an eclipse. I mean, we're in a we're in a corridor that ends on March 3rd, and so wow. Then we're going to go into, I don't know all the astrology of it, but I know we're going into the equinox. And so, yeah, this is a very powerful time. So there's no mistake that I met Bliss yesterday, and and I said, why don't you just, normally I'll say, why don't you come back next month, and we'll do it again. Like, we haven't finished this conversation. And so I'm like, why don't you come back tomorrow? And so we did. And so then today at the end, I said, well, we should do this again. We're still not done. And I was going to say like 2 weeks or 4 weeks. And he said, why don't we come back next week? I said, okay, let's come back on the same day. And then I realized that it's the same day that your show's on. So I think there might be some continuity there. And I think that, that might be the lineup on the Soulogy platform going forward. Thank you both for...
You just described mine and Gareth's friendship. Got together, said, oh, let's talk again. Tomorrow, talk again. Oh, let's talk again. Another month? No, tomorrow. So 3 years later.
Yeah, here we go. So, yeah, let me just say that thank you for showing up. Everybody, thank you for showing up. Because anyone that's showing up right now on this planet... might have volunteered, but you had to meet a certain litmus test to enter the space that we're all in, and it's nice to see the contrast of this show and to be able to assist in supporting that. So, y'all have a great show. Again, thank you. Deep gratitude, blessings of peace, grace, and love to everybody that can hear this message, and I will see you later. All right, brother and sister.
See you, man.
He's still there.
Still there. Hey,
no,
Katie.
he's not.
Yeah, I know he's not.
I'm messing with you. I'll see you later. I'll be back in an hour. Take care.
You're funny.
He's funny, man. Still getting organized here.
Aren't we supposed to do that before the show?
We are, yes. I've been having technical problems like everywhere.
Well, you're doing all sorts of techie things for a website and stuff. That's like, it just feels like my worst nightmare.
Oh, it's it's always like follow this menu path, but it's never the same as the path you're given. So you got to figure out why and then what the difference is and how to get the same result. Yeah.
That's It's funny you're
complicated.
talking about setting up your email address, and it sounds like you're talking about life.
Yeah, well, I think that's there. There's a lot going on electromagnetically as well, and technological stuff gets thrown around by that. So it's pretty chaotic. I guess it's just a reflection of that. But I'm pretty sure I've got to that point where the email will be active. I just had to do a different email to the website and then make it all connect. So I think I've got it to a point where I can actually give it to people. It may not be, I might sort of be a day or two before I get back to everybody, but I think I should have that up and running by the end of the day.
Nice. Nice. You can give it to Todd to put it in all the show notes.
Yeah. Because we'll get to it, but I was going to offer something to people if they're up for it, and they can get to me through that email address. So we'll get to that anyway. Yeah. So what's been going on with life?
Interesting. Not enjoyable. Not, not a big fan over here.
Right. Yeah. I think a few people can relate to that. I know. So what's going on today? 17th, 18th. Well, it's 18th in Australia, and there's the new Chinese New Year, huge eclipse, and massive solar storms, all happening at the same time. And then next, what is it? The 20th is the Saturn Neptune conjunction in Aries, 0 degrees Aries. That's huge, and they all kind of interconnect in a big way.
Well, everything's connected, and I understand, the astrology is like no other time in the universe's history, or it's something that hasn't happened in 6,000 years. Like, and I was on a live call earlier, and one of the questions of the speaker that didn't get answered, but it was a really good question, was like, what about our physical, like, can you speak to what's happening to us physically? Because so many people are in so much discomfort, like aches and pains. Everyone's talking about waking up at 3 a.m, like, and everyone says, myself included, we're becoming more crystalline, we're lightening, we don't need as much sustenance, and like all these concepts that I say and understand on a really shallow level, but I don't really get it. I don't get any of it.
Yeah, we can talk to that. Just trying to figure out how to expand my screen. I'm multitasking here, but not my strong point, so I should stop that. Yeah. Look, that's something I know I've been feeling it, and people, my partner, and other people I know have been feeling it physically.
Your wife?
Yes. Yeah. Otherwise known as my
Partner,
wife.
you're married.
Yes. My business partner. And yeah, there's a lot of conceptual stuff, and I guess that's part of what I've been trying to do. I've been being given over the years a massive big picture context to put the transition into, which has some elements in it that are probably different to what's out there, and maybe kind of I was given a few things that I haven't really heard before. But also the main thing is to anchor it at street level. Like what does it mean for Joe Bloggs and Mary, whatever, just ordinary people navigating life on a day-to-day basis. So connecting the two together. And I was given a phrase years ago, the extraordinary ordinariness to describe life. And it's very true. It's extraordinary and it's ordinary all at the same time.
Right.
And that can trip people up a bit, I think, because we're expecting this, conceptual stuff we're given is this extraordinary kind of change. And that's true, but then right here, right now, we're not really necessarily seeing it day to day. But there's a direct relationship between what is happening with each person no matter what it looks like, and that big picture transformation, like they're directly connected. So it's kind of like a ripple effect. But the physical side of it, because the transition, it's spiritual, physical, and mental and emotional all at the same time.
I'm telling you, the call I was on earlier was with Dr. Sue Morter, and she said a lot of things you say, and I was just blown away. And she says it in such a relatable, understandable. But those four functions, the spiritual, the emotional, the mental, the physical, that all just rang a bell. I'm hearing that a lot lately. So how what's your understanding of what's happening to people's body when they say we're getting more crystalline? How do you explain that to yourself? How do you reconcile that?
Well, I was told, God said, the way God described the human race, he said, you are the most physically dense race in the universe. And he said, all self-aware life is five-sided. So if you put the two together, five dimensions and the most physically dense. And of course, as I said, the five dimensions start with the fifth dimension of spirit, which is pure consciousness. Five-dimensional life is why telepathy works. It's how telepathy works. That's a fundamental nature of the fifth dimension. Telepathy, astral projection, that kind of thing is all just the fifth dimension. But then time being the fourth, and then the three physical dimensions. So we've been trapped in a kind of false, on one side of the space-time equation, and sort of separated from a fully functioning connection to the fifth dimension. It's there, and you can, as an individual, you can break through the barrier, which is what enlightenment, we know as enlightenment is. But as a race, we've been stuck in this kind of physically dense sort of, connection to life. Well, that's changing. That's what's actually transforming. So when you say physical, the body is the most physical part of us. And it's
Yep.
just like when you go through a detox. If you want to get to a purer version of yourself, or a healthier version of yourself, toxicity in food can kind of create more density and make us heavier. But if to go from that to healthy, you're going to feel a lot of pain first. It's going to make things worse before it makes things better.
Yeah, kind of like a mirror of what's happening in the world. We know that what's coming is miraculous and glorious and a renaissance we've never experienced, yet it's got to look like that first.
Yes, exactly. Because what's been stopping it is been hidden under the surface. So, of course, getting it out of the way, just like toxicity, your body you get used to it. So you kind of normalize it. So you don't experience it necessarily intensely. You'll feel the knock-on effects, but usually over time. But like I always remember, I had chronic fatigue when I was in my 20s. That's one of the reasons I asked for help. And one of the things I did was go and see a naturopath, because I was so tired and exhausted all the time. And he said, you know what, I think you might be allergic to milk, to dairy. And I'd never heard that before. And this is one of the knock-on effects of, say, things like glandular fever. Allergies can develop. And so he said the way to find out is to give up for a month, like don't have any at all for a month, and then have some. And man, I did that. Firstly, I
Yep.
felt like worse. Then I started to feel more energy than I'd felt for years. And then I had some, and whack, I felt the full impact of it in a way that I hadn't before, because I kind of normalized it. So
Yeah,
toxicity
you
leaving.
normalize it. It's like you make up for the discomfort, or you make up for the bathroom trips. You make up for all it. Like when we do the 5 days fasting space in Lori Ladd's community, after the 5 days, reintroducing food shows you how much you don't either like food that you ate before the fast, or you don't agree with it. You just feel how heavy food is after a fast, or like your month of no dairy.
Right.
When you reintroduce the dairy, you totally can feel the adverse effects of it, which you were just dealing with because you were just dealing with it. Yeah.
Yeah. apologies, I'm having a technical problem here, which I'm trying to fix, which I've just done, I'm hoping. Yeah, exactly. And, a lot of the time, the toxicity buildup is very gradual, like incremental. Same with mind control, same with all of it. The strategies are very gradual and incremental, and you normalize each step. So you don't really notice the progression until you kind of feel like life is just not working. And then you want to look
Yep.
for changing it. And then, of course, once it leaves way faster than it appeared. So you feel it in a
Well,
much more tangible way.
yeah, absolutely. The other thing to be said about toxicity is not only are they poisoning us, as I say every show, from the air, the land, the food, and the water, it's in the vaccines from birth.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, like we're just hammered from the get go. Then I shared a post about wisdom teeth having stem cells that have been shown scientifically to heal the heart and the liver and the lungs and something else. It's like, no wonder they want to take your wisdom teeth out. I know I ran down the rabbit hole, but I'm just like, yeah, it's,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just
There's
like,
this,
so if we're in a true paradigm shift from 3D to 5D, there's no other way than for us to lighten our physical bodies, right? Like it's not, right?
yeah, well, look, I mean, it's happening automatically. We're being brought up to
That's
5D
what I mean.
consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why the sun's going through what the sun is like a massive catalyst. Well, it is a massive catalyst for what's happening. And that's one of the big reasons that they came up with the counter control narrative around climate change. So they used weather modification technology to amplify it, and they created this whole, you know, scientific concept of climate change and carbon, and they've used that as a, the whole agenda 2030 thing, and getting to zero. They've used that as a control, like they always do. They always use it to bring in a control system. So they use the natural process, which will destroy them if they don't get a handle on it. So they create a controlled narrative around it to turn it back to their favor. They did the same thing around the Nazarene at the Roman time of the Roman Empire. That's the main strategy. The whole thing about human nature, and one of the things God said is, you insist you have a human nature. So that's a myth. And it's easy once people feel bad about themselves and you connect to this myth of human nature, that humans are fundamentally flawed. And again, religion, the Catholic Church was fundamentally based around that, that we're fundamentally flawed and we're doing the best we can to get better. But, now you ... You need a control system, like you need a parental figure. So it
Yeah.
all ties. But
It's all
the
connected.
physical,
It's like the little meltdown I had over the weekend when there was the free viewing of a documentary on the earth, farms, food, soil, and human health. And I just had a meltdown about it because I can see the climate change agenda in some seemingly benevolent documentary, and I just go boing, like because I know they're tugging at our heartstrings. The corporations have done the harm to the planet that they're trying to make us all feel shame and guilt about for our very existence. It's this looping. And so now I see this and everything. So I was all excited to watch this documentary. And what does it have? It starts right out of the gate with this dramatic score and like top-notch production and so many creepy celebrities. And like celebrities we know have done bad shit. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I snap. And so that's been, and my friend Brian's in the chats, and like, that's on. There's Nigel. Aw, and Roseanne and Liz and Mike and Melissa. Okay, sorry. So,
I know.
and I that's my lesson right now, because I've been crying every single day, like all day. And my lesson is, stop worrying about these things. Stop rushing these things. Stop being impatient, not like in a chastising way, just a remembrance, a reminder way. This is a course correcting universe, there is nothing I have to do or be. I just have to keep saying it because I feel insane.
Yes. Yeah, and look, that is what I'm talking about with detox. Now, with physical detox, you'll take something out or you'll add something in, and that'll create a healing reaction within the body. But when it comes to fifth dimension of spirit, one of the things Tom said to me was they've never been able to break your human spirit. So that's the strategy. Is a they push us to our limit and hold us there to try and break our spirit. And so much of that is connected to our belief system. So when you do something like this, you change your belief system, you're going to create, it changes the nature of the mental control structure which is what it's there for. Our belief system is all about controlling self-doubt and fear. And there's a lot of grief, a lot of pain that we've experienced through our lives that we have to put on hold. So as soon as you change something the way you think, you're opening the door to that being released. And that's very, very important. And the reason I say that is because just like the universe, the sum total energy of the universe never changes, but the form within it's constantly changing. Your own consciousness is exactly the same. We're a mirror of the universe, a microcosm. So the sum total consciousness you hold is it never changes. But within that, you're constantly moving. Now, what happens when that's the flow of life? What happens, though, when you bring in the ego that controls, where you need to edit yourself and life, is you have experiences that you can't resolve because the only way you can resolve them is to be within the flow of life, open to life as it is. And you can't do that and doubt yourself, which means you have an experience that you can't comprehend within that need to be someone. So that locks up a part of your awareness in time. So by the time you get to our age now, there's quite a lot of your sense of self or your beingness is caught up in the past. And that leaves you with very little to play with here and now. And that's why a lot of people hit the wall. You run out of energy. You can feel it in lots of different ways. Now, what happens is as soon as you start to open up to, hang on, I've got a problem, what is it? I don't know. That stop you. Being in control and knowing you don't know don't work together. They're mutually exclusive.
No,
So as soon as
right.
you're willing to admit that there's a problem you don't understand, the whole belief system built around control is I know. And you need to put everything in a box so that you don't have to feel doubt and fear of the unknown is what triggers it. Well, obviously, being willing not to know and fear of the unknown don't work together. Now, that means that you start releasing a lot of the emotional energy that's trapped in the past. So just like a detox, you're going to feel it. And it feels like everything gets worse because that's all you can see. But that's not what's actually happening, just like a physical reaction. Now, the same thing is happening with the body, because just like you hold emotion in the past, that's going to be locked up in somewhere in your body. So there's a natural connection between those two things. So this whole thing about going crystalline, what does it mean? Well, you could call crystals rock that have gone through a process and become lighter in that process. So what's the process? Pressure. Just in geology, you get a rock and you put it under intense pressure and it transforms it into something that can actually, instead of blocking light, it allows light through. So it's open to light, which said, so you're open to awareness. So the more our consciousness expands, the more our body has to let go of that density. So crystalline, it's more of an analogy than a reality, if you like.
Yeah, okay. No, that makes good sense. That makes good sense. Ann and I have often talked about, food being just like such a nuisance now. Like, can't wait to not need food. And like the heaviness and the density, like we've been talking about how dense we are for so many years, physically dense. Thank you very much. And
Good.
for so many, I know, I gotta watch it. For so many years, it's like, what does that even mean anymore? It's just so uncomfortable. Like everything aches. just everything just like feels weird. Yeah, and I would have loved to have heard how Dr. Mortar would have answered that, because she really said some good stuff. I mean, I talked to you after live. I said you got to look her up. There was another like not a live but a live premiere earlier with a channeler. Like, I've got to bring up this two Earth nonsense again. I'm so tired of hearing about two Earth. And if you're really working with intention and consciousness, like really doing your best, you'll ascend, you'll make the shift. But if you're not, you won't. I'm like, how can anybody still be saying that?
Yeah, look, I can categorically say right now
Do.
that that's not true. No.
Well, it has nothing to do with if you know that we're in an ascension and this is all galactic AF, or if you don't. Because the majority, and I can't know this, but it feels like the majority don't know, right? Like all the people I talk with and am friends with and everything, their friends and family, nobody's awake. So that leads me to believe that we are, few and plunked around the planet. So if only those with awareness of consciousness and intention to do this with love and neutrality and non-reactivity and compassion and forgive, like all of it, the majority doesn't have a clue. I'm like, if you're thinking they're not going to make the shift, it sounds like you're stuck in the old religious dogmatic beliefs of you have to do something to be something. You have to be, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like we're one being. This is one entire being. There's no option for anybody not making the shift. It's not a
That's right. And
thing.
that's it. The only option is it's better for you if you choose it. Now, that's really the two categories. There are people who have chosen to admit there's something going on and they just don't know what it is. And as soon as you do that, like I've said, you'll go through a process of undoing the inversion, which is our own sense of self and reality. That's the problem. As soon as you recognize there's something happening, you don't know what it is. Now you're open. You become what Tom called a receiver instead of a transmitter of conditioning. You're a receiver, which means you start to release. There's a release process that goes on, which rearranges your
Of
thinking,
belief systems, of the
belief
story of you.
systems,
You're
yeah,
releasing
emotion.
all of the false. Like Dr. Mortar spoke so eloquently about that. And she had some illustrations for showing the body we're living and the being that we are. Like it was so beautifully illustrated that we are in a movie playing a part, and that you were never broken or traumatized or lacking or wrong in any way, shape, or form. You have always been whole and perfect. Always. It's a hard thing
And
to
it's
know in this inversion.
that's one of the things Ramana said. The truth of who you are is untouched by any of it, and that remains true regardless. And that's really important to know because, and Tom said, "What's the problem facing the human race? Lack of a belief in an absolute reality. The ego that controls is the mechanism that creates the false reality, but lack of a belief in an absolute reality that there is a truth to life and you that's universal and like the way Ramana put it, is untouched by any of this because it's a mental construct. It doesn't actually exist. The one with the problem doesn't exist. Therefore, that's the thing with trauma itself. Yes, some people have gone through some extremely intense experience. I mean, think of the kids that have been pulled out of these tunnels. Some of them have been tortured. They've been put through intense experiences that they're way too young to even understand, way more than we have. But that can all be dealt with when you know what reality is. So they've been taken through processes helped by some of the galactics that are here. There's medbed technology, and there's also ways to meet the trauma and process it, because the fundamental truth is the truth of who they are is untouched by any of it. It's just a matter of knowing how to get back to that from the experience. You can't actually go around it or manage the experience or control it. And there's a lot of problems with spirituality that deal with this. The whole two earth thing, I think, is really, a lot of people can't process how these people are going to go from A to B. Like, how the hell are they going to get from where they are now to understanding a word they're saying? It's just more they can't understand it. But when you know what the context is, when you understand that there is an absolute reality, or there is a truth, and that there's a way to move from let's say the mental construct back to that truth, then it's just a matter of doing that. That's really what we're coming into now. And the two earth thing, it's like I've said before, it's more that there's two versions, two experiences of the same process. The way the Arcturians put it, the great coming together and the great falling apart, it's the same thing.
Right. As it comes together for all of us, being on the path very consciously and intentionally, as it comes together, it falls apart out there.
For them, yes. So, that their paradigm has to fall apart first before they can realise it's a false paradigm. We don't need that, because that's already happened.
Exactly. We are not invested in the false paradigm any longer. So, yeah, but it sure does need to fall apart for them, because right now, the topic on everybody's mind is, of course, the Epstein files. Whether that's distraction or not, I don't know. Like, everyone's up in arms about how normies are basically ignoring the evidence that's so in their faces. Like, they're not, I don't know, it's a very odd time on the planet when proof of raping and murdering kids and eating people is public, and people are just la la la. But at the same time, I get tripped up in how much should I be invested in worrying about this? Like, what should I feel about this? Because I've known about the sex trafficking and the children and the adrenochrome and all of that for so many years now. I'm not horrified. Of course I'm horrified, but you know what I mean? It's like, oh, this is happening. Not in a dismissive or disrespectful or cold way, but it's a very strange place to be here right now. And it's only going to get heavier, but people consciously on the spiritual path are having a hard time and saying something's got to be so big that it awakens the sleepers.
Look, don't forget, this year is only just starting. Like, literally today, we're just moving from the previous Chinese year to the new Chinese year. And the reason that's important is because it's a completely different dynamic. And it's not just that. There's so many timelines that are all converging right now, or cycles that go back 14,000 years, 6,000 years, 8,000 years, 200 years. There's multiple timelines that are all transforming into a whole new form right now, and that's only just getting started. So this Epstein file drop, that's just the tip of the iceberg of what's coming. Yeah, there's no way that we can avoid by the end of the year. I mean, again, open contact. The impact of that that's extremely powerful, very, very powerful. The other thing is, I want to just say about this initial shock, and then you kind of transform your understanding. It's extremely important, because this is the whole thing about the sacred masculine. The ability to see the whole story from above means you need to be objective. So there's the connection between the divine feminine, your emotional body, your ability to empathize, your ability to connect to everything around you, and your ability to see everything from above. the deeper your emotional intelligence, in other words, the more you're able to hold the feeling that you're in, and the higher you're able to see it, like the more willing you are to know that you don't know the full story. Now, a part of you is wanting to know the full story. So as this all comes out, you're able to digest it. That's very, very important. And one of the big, most powerful tools of the interference and the mind control is emotional reactionaryism. Remember, their strategy is take control of the narrative. Firstly, you always take control of the narrative because that controls people's perception. Then you use that because the goal is divide and conquer. Divide us from ourselves, divide us from each other, divide us from the truth, divide us from
What?
everything. Yeah, that's how you conquer a civilization. Now, the strategy to do that is to take control of the narrative, generate problem, reaction, solution being centralization of power, totalitarianism, slavery. That's what they've been doing. And they're at the final point of that plan, the corporate system. And what they're doing right now is they're trying to complete that plan to a global scale.
Yeah.
But the reactionaryism, that's the key. That's the copper top battery analogy in a matrix. The energy that runs the whole thing is our emotional reactionaryism. Without that, problem solution can't happen. We don't believe the problem. We're looking at it critically. We're stepping back, going, hang on a minute, what's going on here really? And that is the whole basis of satsang. That's why it's true north. The whole basis. As soon as you do that, you're looking at the truth of who you are in a way you may not connect with. But satsang is about that. Let the feeling be there. Let the story be there that you've always told yourself. Because remember, we've all been a victim of this controlled narrative. And then question the story itself. So there's an external version of that playing out, which is the way the media is handling all of this. We know there are two narratives going on. The mainstream media is ignoring so much. They're doing editorials on the news. Editorials aren't the same thing. As John Pilger, who's a very famous investigative journalist, he said at the end of 2019, as COVID was starting to hit, that investigative journalism globally is virtually dead. Now, editorials are opinion pieces. So the principle of news is here's this side of the story, here's that side of the story, you make your own mind up, and then an editor comes in and goes, well, this is what I think. Now, what they've done is replace the entire media with this editorial opinion pieces where they edit out everything. So we get an edited version of reality. That's corporate system. Remember the Chinese Communist Party, they're the major shareholder of BlackRock, one of the two corporations that own everything. All six
Yep.
corporations in the media they run. They're not known for objective news, it's propaganda. So we're not hearing the truth. But there's too many people that are onto that. And that we're seeing this massive online community building up. Now, yes, there's baby and bathwater flying around, and there's still a lot of opinions, but it's based on the question, like what's going on. So there are people saying, well, based on X, Y, and Z pieces of information, I think this is what's happening. And someone else might have a different point of view. But the fact is, there's a debate going on globally at the same time as this group is trying to take over globally. Those two forces are exactly mutually exclusive. And the power of that cannot be underestimated. They've lost control of the narrative. And that's why the Arcturians told me at the start of 2019 about they gave me a heads up of what's coming. The final point of their plan is their most vulnerable point because it's central, one thing. And they've hidden behind this mask that there isn't one control group. There isn't a they with an agenda.
Nobody wants to go.
Had a perception of reality all over the place. So the problem is for their plan to work, they need us to make one choice for them to take over globally in one act. That's what COVID was about. They were testing, can we pull this off? And instead, and that's why they turned up, the Arcturians said they will lose control of the narrative. The final point of their plan is the most vulnerable point. They will lose control of the narrative. This will undo problem, reaction, solution, centralization of power. So what's actually happening with this online community, this half of the human race that are going, right, what is really going on? slowly over time, we've been held in this gap. We know we don't know what's going on, but there's something going on. What is, by definition, by default, what starts to happen is your emotional intelligence deepens because you're being held in a gap. So your ability to stay in that gap, reactionaryism is all about needing to be in control. You can't tolerate the unknown, so you got to fill it with something.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what we
Yeah.
do with the news. Here's the opinion to fill it in. Everybody who thinks ETs are real are idiots. Everybody who thinks, it's just a conspiracy theory, great, I can stay in the bubble. That's not working with people. And yes, it's been hard on all of us. It's been really hard. But what's been happening is, again, there's a lot of emotional energy has been passing out of people. A lot of physical energy, this physical symptomology is all about that as well. The people who have been willing to go there have been feeling it the most in a lot of ways for that reason. But the great thing is our investment in this paradigm is almost extinct. So as the Epstein files play out and the impact it has on this paradigm shattering, and believe me, it's happening big time.
It's happening big time, and the Epstein files are assisting in a big way because since they've come out, all sorts of things have come out about celebrities and actors and musicians and stuff. So they themselves have opened up rats' nests everywhere. Like there's all sorts of stuff, defending and celebrating Michael Jackson and all the ones who spoke and were killed, like I think Chester Bennington and oh God, so many of them. And I just had them all. Anthony Bourdain was one. I don't know if Amy Winehouse was one. Just a lot of people who were taken out when they knew too much. And so the Epstein files are bringing up a lot. They're bringing up a lot.
And remember, view the Epstein file drops as a pebble being dropped into water. Now, it's the ripple effect that matters because firstly, there's the information. Then we start noticing the knock-on effect, like all this people, there are certain groups of people staying silent. Yeah, like for instance, Deepak Chopra being named in the files. Hang on a minute. Now, there's a whole industry, you could say, there are a lot of peers within that industry. Let's say they've all gone completely silent. None of them want to go there. Hang on a minute. What does that mean? Same thing with Hollywood, same thing with the media, same thing with politicians. There's these two factions opening up within the system itself between the people who are willing to meet the impact and the people who are pulling away from it. Yeah. So that in itself starts focusing your attention on different parts of the system, what Tom called the octopi that binds this entire inverted civilization. There's questions being asked in a much more focused.
It's really inverted, and the Mr. Smiths are really like it. The mind control is staggeringly well done. They are defending monsters. They're defending an ideology, an idea, a story, a belief. They're defending something quite terrible and false. It's really sad.
That's the thing, and that's being noticed. The other side of this ripple effect, of course, is the number of people who know exactly what's been going on all this time and they've stayed silent because of the power these people wield. Now, the problem taking these people out, there are more and more witnesses that will start to come forward because the scale of this is too big for them to take everybody out without completely exposing themselves. So it's a tidal wave they can't stop. It's just a matter of time. The more of these people start coming out, the more people will start coming out within the military, within the financial system, within the corporate world, within the people who have been on the negative side of the human trafficking. There are so many people all around the world who have stayed silent, who are going to start to speak up. And that gets back to all the normies, let's call them that. I don't want to judge them for it, but that gets back to the average people and the media, that they can't control that. That they will not be able to control that. They're going to have to. The scale of what is going to start coming out, these ripple effects, it's like a tidal wave. Again, it starts small and it gets bigger. At some point, the mainstream media is going to have to acknowledge it. But the only way they can survive that is to try to control it. But again, the scale of the exposure of the system exposes that they are about controlling the information. And that will collapse the mainstream media, that the average person will not be able to hold on to the idea that the news is telling them the truth. They will be forced to acknowledge the controlled narrative. And as soon as that happens, the whole thing falls apart. Because if they lied about that, what else have they lied about?
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about, this gripping grief that I carry and the rage that I carry. And I really think part of it is a very strong impatience. If my mom's going to laugh, I'll let you know. But ever since I was a little girl, patience is not my strong suit. So if I was not patient in a world I thought was real, now that I know the world's not real, my patience, it's so funny. My patience is so high now. I have so much patience and no patience at all. It's just a weird place to be. I think a lot of my grief is impatience for this. I'm holding on to I'm just kind of living. I'm existing. I'm not living, I'm existing while this all happens. So I want it to be so much faster.
But I mean, that's what you just did, though. One of the things Tom said to me is important to name it. So as this process of, let's say, you're willing to question what's really going on, it starts to mean your belief system starts to dislodge, which starts to allow emotional energy that's been trapped within your body and within the history to release. What he's saying is there are subconscious layers that suddenly you'll start to name the problem in a new way because you're looking at it in a new way. So it stands to reason that you're going to start to see it. So that's one of the things he meant. It's important to name it. And what you just did there, you acknowledged that a lot of your grief, a lot of the emotionality about your grief is the impatience for it to change itself, not the thing you always thought it was. Now, as soon as you name it, it changes your relationship to what's playing out. So you start to move through it in a different way. It alters your trajectory, in other words.
Yeah.
So it'll speed
I'm
up.
just thinking about the mind stories that I've been in, that I've shared with you numerous times in all these years, and the grief and how I've named it. And then now I'm like, maybe it's not that at all. It's weird. On a daily basis, on a minute by minute basis, exactly what I believe can change on a dime.
Right.
Maybe I'm not grieving those relationships and those friendships. I mean, there's an element of it, but it's been so gripping and so dark and so all encompassing. Maybe it's not just that. It's the impatience. Grief is just an existence or evidence of great love, right? I mean, isn't that essentially what grief is?
Yeah, that's the way to put it.
Great love. And right? So I don't know. I'm babbling now.
Well, the loss of love, grief, you could say loss of love. But again, that's kind of what's been running us since childhood. We lost our love of life, and love of self is one way you could put it. That's what loss of innocence means. We are who we are, and life is what it is, and we don't even have a concept that that you can even question that. So we just are living. We are. That's it. And so there's an innocence, if you like, and we get pulled out of that. So the flow of love is another way to put the flow of life. That single energy everything comes from. We experience it as love of life, love of self. but it's not a concept. But then you get pulled into this sort of self-doubt. So there's a loss of love. That's what the analogy again of Darth Vader is all about. Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader. But in a way, loss of love. He went through the grief process, which he went into the dark side or the shadow side, and he allowed that. He lived through that process all the way to the other side, where he connected back to the universe as love as a whole. As soon as he realized in that moment the price that he was paying and what the goal was, he let's say, what could you say? Describe the emperor as this beast that we're running from, that we're trying to be someone that's not who we are, that we could create this monster of ourselves with our self-image. This monster we keep feeding. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And when he turned around and threw that monster in the abyss, he reconnected to life in a much bigger way that was permanent, that it couldn't be, it was unassailable from that moment on. And that's the process of enlightenment. And that's exactly what the transition of the human race is. That's what we've been doing since the Atlantean age, going into the shadow side. We lost this is what the whole biblical thing about the Garden of Eden and, the apple of the knowledge of good and evil, and what that loss of innocence that we fell. Well, that's an analogy for we already had civilization in its highest form, and we chose to get stuck in desire of the physical. And we got to such a point where we had to directly experience the shadow side, the dark side of that choice. And we've been living through that for the last 12,000 years plus. And now we're coming out the other side, and it's permanent. What's played out on this planet can never happen again, because we see through it all. We understand that we created it by the choice that we made 12,000 years ago. But what were we choosing? The reason we chose it because we didn't really understand what we were choosing. We didn't really understand the price we would pay. All we could see is what we were getting out of it. We didn't realize the cost. And once you realize the cost, it's the choiceless choice. This whole thing about desire and letting go of the dark side being a hard thing. Once you see the reality, it's like Neo in the Matrix. At the end, it's just simple. That beast has no control over you, because why would you? What is it? It's nothing. It's you don't get anything out of it. You lose everything to it. You don't get anything out of it. Why would you? But you've got to live through it to know that. You've got to directly experience it to really know that.
Right.
And that's what the human race has done. And that was the whole purpose of the human race being created from the start anyway. And that gets back to what's playing out. The physical symptoms people are feeling is simply us coming back from that really low, dense experience of reality back up to where we were before.
Yep.
But with full awareness. So, of course, all of that grief is coming out, all of the pain and suffering we've put ourselves through, and we put ourselves through it, is being released.
It's early on in the show. Melissa said, she commented, ground control to Major Tom. What does Tom want to tell all us listeners to empower each one of us yet collectively? Thank you.
Okay. Geez, that's a big question. That's a massive question, and it's probably got a lot of answers. I'm trying to distill it down to what I've been shown. How can we put it? Well, look, we aren't who we think we are. So if we're not who we think we are, who are we? Really, who are we? Like when you say that.
And as scary as that sounds, it's actually very empowering.
Well, that's the thing. He said, you insist you have a human nature. So look at that story called human nature. Look at your own connection to it, self-doubt, the feeling that you're not quite up to it, that almost flinch against life, and this story called human nature, and then think, well, what's the alternative? when he said, what's the biggest problem facing the human race? The ego that controls, lack of a belief in an absolute reality. You insist you have a human nature is a product of the ego that controls this mind story. We have an individual version, and then we have a perception of the human race, all the people out there. And they go together, and we judge the hell out of each other, and we keep us locked in that story. Well, what's the alternative? And how do you get from A to B? Like, how do you actually, what's this way that works? And that's, again, which is what no one wants to do. This is what most of the, psychology and spirituality is the opposite.
Yeah, and
No one says,
yes,
let the feeling be there. Stop trying to avoid it. Let the feeling be there.
even in the spiritual community that's there. I don't want to belong to anything or listen to anyone or talk to anybody. Because it's all
If
the
you're
old
feeling it, you're feeling
programming wrapped up with a bow. It's bullshit.
Yeah, if you're feeling something, you're feeling it. One of the great tenets in satsang is when you argue with what is, you suffer. And that goes for the Byron Katie methodology. If it is, it is. You can't argue with it. But what is it? As soon as you're willing to recognize, okay, this is what I'm feeling, but what am I really feeling? And then you can ask that question. If you're not willing to allow the feeling to be there, then you can't let it serve a purpose. And the way God put it, darkness serves a purpose. This thing called darkness, we want to edit it out because we've got a mind story about what it is. And that connects to our feeling that we're not right as we are. And darkness is just lack of awareness. And whatever you're feeling points your mind back in the right direction to the one who felt that way in the first place, the child that felt that way in the first place. And so as soon as you're willing to challenge the feeling you've got right here, right now you're on the right path back to that moment where you first left yourself. And that's why everything you're feeling serves a purpose. It all serves that same purpose. So does the story you tell yourself around it. It's all connected to the one cause, the one problem, which is you believe you're not right as you are, and you can't be who you are and think that at the same time. So that gets back to, this thing about you insist you have a human nature. We have a story about who we are. Well, is it true? So you let the feeling be there, and you let the reason you feel that way, which is we think we feel that way first, and then we think from the feeling. It's the other way around. The reason we feel that way is because we think of ourselves in a certain way. So that's why it's so important to let the feeling be there and let the story be there. Now question the story.
So wait a minute. Which one comes first, the chicken or the egg? I was just reading all. Say that again.
The feeling, the feeling comes first, and then the story,
and then you wrap a story around it.
Yeah. Now this is why it's hard to get a handle on. First, you feel the feeling that you aren't right as you are. Then you take that because when you're a small child, you don't have the words yet. You take that feeling. Think of it this way: the truth of who you are is a frequency. The truth of where you are is the same frequency. They connect. They're one and the same. So there is only one. There's white light. That's it. There's one energy called white light. The entire universe comes from white light. It's a holographic projection. Let there be light. That's what that means. Then from white light, all the colors come from white light. They're actually contained within white light. So there's one color, white, then there's every other color from that. That's what the universe is. So just like that, you are one frequency, and everything around you is the same core frequency. As soon as you feel like you aren't right as you are, you've created static on top of that, which is in your mind. Now your mind has a frequency that's at odds with everything around you and you. You take that into your experience, and that creates a reflection. So that mirrors back, it's all the looks on people's faces, it's the words people say as you grow up that describe why you feel that way, that put words to it. So you go through a situation where
validate it.
Well, they describe the feeling and justify it and validate it and make it real. Really, it's the other way around. First, we feel like we aren't right as we are. Then we make that real in our experience by interpreting our experiences from that point of view. So our mind starts to describe it. So it's still true that it's your mind first, because that static is in the mind. It's not in the heart. It's in the mind. That core frequency can never change. That's always there. But what
Right.
starts to happen is the foundation layer of your mental structure, before you even start to think things and put words to things, the foundation of your mental structure is off, a little bit off. So all the thinking follows that little bit off frequency.
Yeah.
So it still comes from your mind. It's just you don't have the words, you're the feeling first, then the words describe the feeling. But it's coming from your point of view of what you're looking at, not the heart connection of what you're seeing. That's still there. That heart knowing is still there. It's just your mind pulls you further and further away, which by the time you're 9, which is why the Nazarene said, show me a boy till they're 7, I'll show you the man. Your mind at that point is now completely formed around this off kind of frequency. So what that does is, from that moment on, your mind is in control. Your mind is just reinforcing this belief system over and over and over again. You're trying to be this someone who isn't that. And every effort you make to be the someone who isn't that makes that you're trying not to be more and more real. So there's a split within you. We become split. So the way to come back to yourself is to challenge the story in your mind, because the feeling comes from the story. The feeling comes from that point of view. Hopefully,
Right.
I haven't lost anybody.
You haven't lost me. No, people in the chat are liking it. Teresa just said, we set up dysfunctional programming around certain events, trying to protect ourselves and operate from that until it surfaces to be healed. That's pretty
Yeah,
spot on.
that's right.
That's
Now, what
spot on.
creates the traumatic event? Is it the event or our thinking? We interpret the event in a particular way, which creates our experience of it. Now, one of the big things is we feel disempowered, but when you realize your thinking is what creates the trauma, because your thinking is describing the experience, how all the power comes back to you. And that's what the human race is going through. Yes, it's hard to own, but
It's so hard.
the short-term pain of owning that you're the one creating your experience transforms into the long-term, permanent, actually, realization that you have the power to control your own experience by allowing it to be what it is and showing you what it is, because it can only ever be one thing, the same frequency that you are.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
mind control can't work. That's all mind control is. We describe everything in line with the description of ourselves, which is it's not right as it is. And the knock-on effect of that is the
Yeah,
world that we've created.
well, it's massive. It's what's happening in the world. It's what's happening with all of us individually, what's coming up and out. Everybody is going through something and struggling with. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's getting a bit
Can you hear me?
messy.
It's getting choppy. It's
I
getting
can hear
really
you.
choppy.
Yeah,
I'm sorry if you could.
yeah.
Okay. So I was saying that it is, we are a microcosm, as you've always taught me or said to me, of what's happening out there. So right now we're all feeling this. So that false story that you insist you have a human nature, like that's what's all coming up and out right now. And it's really uncomfortable because it's lifetimes and it's because it's part of the agenda, it's supported in everything we look at. So it's
That's the thing.
it's a hero's journey to leave that and
Yeah,
strike out on your own with critical thinking and open dialogue and discourse. Like I don't want to be somewhere where I have to be positive all the time, but I'm not also a big downer. I want real, and this is real, and I don't see a lot of real out there. I see even those in the spiritual on the spiritual path dividing and speaking violence, and it's very odd time on the planet. That's what I'll say.
Very,
I
yeah,
I
it's
went all over the place with that, but it's a very odd time right now.
very, very odd. Yeah, and that's look, chaos is just a natural part of the paradigm shift, and this is like I've been saying is the biggest paradigm shift the human race has ever experienced, and it's unique in the history of the universe. It's extremely powerful. They're very powerful. Where what's happening here is connected to the foundation layer of the entire universe, and that was deliberately done. It was done from the ground up for a very
Yeah.
big reason, and that's one of the things I was told, that we could have populated the planet tens of thousands of times over with the number of souls who wished to be here for this experience, and that flies in the face to what people are feeling on the ground about this whole reality. Like, oh my God, it should get us out of here. And yet
But
there's something
go on.
there's something happening that's the exact opposite of that. And that's the whole point. We think
But
it's
isn't like this is all energy. Like Dr. Mortar mentioned that today, every seat we're sitting in right now only has structure because of the speed of the frequency of the energy, right? Like this entire thing is energy. So where was I going with that? Where was I going with that? What were you saying?
we could have populated the planet thousands of times. A lot of people are
Oh,
feeling the
oh, oh.
opposite.
So if this whole thing is energy, how can there not be enough room for all the souls? Like that's the stuff that trips me up. Like if it's all energy and we're all infinite and multidimensional beings, why can't they all be here? And aren't they all here actually?
Look, plane of existence. I mean, it's because physicality is the illusion. The illusion of separation also creates the illusion of being finite. So energy is infinite, but at the same time, the universe is based on being finite. There has to be a beginning and an end to your life. There has to be a beginning and an end. Time is what creates that thing about being finite. There has to be a moment that is separate from the next moment. So that creates this illusion of separation, which is finite. You live, you're born, and you die. So that is universal across the universe. So the physical structure of the planet has to have a limitation. So the amount of self-aware life that can experience that limitation also has a limitation. And there's a purpose behind each plane of existence in a soul's evolution. As a soul, we go through. It's like, again, fractal geometry. As a soul, you start new, and then you go through lifetime after lifetime to come back to the source. And that's the whole universe is an expression of that. So on one hand, the universe is infinite, but it's also finite. That's one of the reasons Tom said totality of understanding is beyond your comprehension.
I know.
Yeah.
I knew I asked a really deep, and multi-layered and really unexplainable question. I did. I put you between a rock and a hard place. I'm really sorry. I
There's a
didn't mean to.
purpose. There is a very direct purpose with what's happening right now, that only souls at a certain point who have had a certain relationship to the planet in the past and are at a certain point in their process can actually have the right kind of, let's say, job description. What's the word? CV. What's the word I'm looking for? When you go for a job, you've got your job history.
Your CV. Yeah, your CV.
Yeah.
Your
So
you yeah.
you need to qualify in a sense to be here for this experience, because it's very specific and unique. So there's that element as well.
Were you thinking of resume?
Yeah, resume.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, because like so many talk about, you really do. Dolores Cannon spoke about it all the time. If you're here right now, you are a top tier soul. But I thought there weren't tiers to any of this. Like it's just like I get
Uh,
tripped up in the minutia of it because I'm a human, right? I get
yes.
tripped up with these silly human concepts because I don't have anywhere to go with it. That was another thing that Dr. Mortar said, which reminded me of you. Like, and I am hearing it in other places. Is I'm hearing the 0 point, and I'm hearing people actually talking about what we're doing right now, not having a reference point. So many people are lost or confused or angry or sad, and because there's no reference point, we have no blueprint for what we're doing. That's the other thing she talked about. She talked about, oh, it was such a good talk. You really got to look her up, man. These people
Yeah.
just keep coming into my field who, when I've just given up on all the communities and the groups, I find this person. And it's like, oh my God, she was
Yeah.
great.
And I think that you're going to see that more and more because as as our energy, the human race's energy rises, things become simpler
Yeah.
in a way. So you're going to see more universality. It also polarizes everyone, but you'll see, but also you're seeing a much clearer, more defined version of that polarity. So there's for instance within this truther community, let's say globally, there's a new kind of need, or let's say audience starting to rise out of it, which matches the point we're at right now. There's a lot of people who are starting to see through the flaws in the way the truther community have been approaching this. And then it's not that those flaws are wrong. I mean, you need to go through a process to come to an understanding, which means you let go of a previous understanding. Everything gets refined. So you get information that pulls you out of the mainstream. You're putting two and two together in a particular way, and really you're just trying to understand things. So you're extrapolating from what you have at the time. And then as more information comes in, of course, you evolve your understanding, which means you start to shift your understanding. Now, some people find that process difficult. They find that
Yeah.
process of change the way they think difficult,
They
particularly if you've got
resist
it.
it.
Yeah, there might be a big investment in being able to assess what's going on for other people, for instance, and that can be hard to let go of. But everyone's going through the same process. We're all sort of evolving. So there are a lot of people who are now at the right point to hear what's coming in a new way, and then at the same time, there are a lot of people in the mainstream community who are getting very reactionary and that's a sign that they're being threatened. The paradigm they operate from is getting more and more threatened at a more and more core level. The more reactionary someone gets, the more they know they're getting backed into a corner. So that's why at some point the stretch between those two polarities goes smack and unifies everybody. So the two earth thing gets back to that as well. But the awareness that's starting to come out of this sort of truther community, that there's a much deeper, newer way to look at this, is what's drawing the awareness, this whole new awareness in. So a big part of this process the human race is going through, where we're getting lighter and lighter, is there's less and less in the way. And like I said, a lot of us have been held in this process where we don't know what's going on, and it's been emotionally tough, very wearing, confusing, but we've been diffusing so much of the emotional energy. Now, like I said, that's important because so much of our awareness has been trapped in the past. So the less investment you have in the past, the more of you is available right now in this living moment
Yeah.
to receive reality. So people are able to hear things, more and more people are able to hear things in a new way. And that's very, very important, because putting two and two together, this is a whole paradigm shift, putting two and two together in a new, unique way that hasn't been there before. that's where the human race is at a unique point out, and that's why open contact is able to happen,
Yeah.
because so many people are able to hear reality without getting in the way, and that's what they've been waiting for.
You think open contact is 2026 or 2027?
I think it begins this year. Yeah. Now, again, it's a process, and what it looks like precisely. Form and timing is pretty elastic because it's based on our awareness and our willingness. But yeah, I believe it's going to start playing out this year. I think
When do you think
by
we'll
the end
all
of the
be able to
year,
stop it? What?
I was going to say by the end of the year, I think we can take that question off the table. Are we alone in the universe? Absolutely no.
So,
And that's
so the question,
important.
what?
And that's important. Again, like the impact of that psychologically on the human race as a whole can't be underestimated. You might hear it in an abstract way right now, but when it becomes a reality, it's an emotional impact that it has.
Yeah. Yeah. What when we just spoke over each other a minute ago, the question I was asking was, when do you think we can all stop paying taxes? Right? Because, but then it occurred to me that I asked it at the perfect time for you to say what you said, because to me, it's like, okay, a 3 mile wide ship is over me. I'm pretty sure that's my sign to stop paying taxes.
Yeah, well, again, direct energy, slavery. Taxes are just slavery. The financial system is slavery. That's the entire name of the game, is to make us their minion, to make us, our creative power becomes about creating the reality they need us to create for them to exist in the form they need to be in. And because we've chosen the exact opposite, they can't exist in the form they need to be in. So the entire system of slavery is collapsing. And you're starting to see more acknowledgement from government at government levels of ET. It's still in a form that the
Yeah.
naysayers can argue with, but it's starting to come from, and it's starting to come more and more often and from a higher and higher levels, and I think that's just going to increase.
Someone someone just shared a reel about a very recent quote from Barack Obama about ET existence, the existence of ETs. I can't remember what it is right now, because as soon as I see Barack Obama, I'm like, why are you quoting him like we care? Like, ew. Oh, I
Yeah,
used to love
sure.
him so much. Boy, oh boy, was I asleep. Oh, goodness gracious. I mean, I love everybody. I love him. I love everybody. But the truth of
Well,
who
I
they
know
are.
there are three motherships on the planet that came from an event that happened on Mars, where there was a civilization there that was destroyed by this Orion war that's been playing out through the galaxy for about, I think, between 2 and 4 billion years. That's where those of the interference started to come into this galaxy first, was in the Orion Nebula. So there were two civilizations at that point. One was very highly advanced and benevolent, and there was another one that was um, technologically a long way behind them, kind of like where we've been coming from, that had been kind of affected by this group and were going a very negative way, and they were completely inverted, and then that started this, because this, just like this planet is a frequency, this galaxy is a frequency. So when those of the interference come into a new galaxy, they need to connect with a self-aware life form of this frequency to begin the process, and then from that civilization they can start growing in this galaxy. So that's where it first
Mm.
started. So it was brought into this solar system deliberately, and the first planet. There are lots of planets with self-aware life on them in this solar system, and that comes from the seeding process. And the Mars civilization was a part of the seeding process, which of course was overseen by the Nazarene as the hawk. So the Mars civilization was wiped out, but three motherships left the planet before that happened and landed here. and that set up the technological basis for civilization here. And that's how Atlantis was put together. Yep.
Where are the 3 ships now? Does it have to do with why a huge, or probably the majority of Grand Canyon cannot be visited, and why the Antarctica is closed off to us? Like, are those 2 of the 3 places that these ships might be?
Well,
And like the
Greenland is
third,
one of them.
oh, Greenland.
Yeah, so Greenland and Antarctica, yes, and there is a third one. Now, I'm not exactly sure where that is, but it could be somewhere in the Middle East. I think the North American one is Greenland. It's more connected in that region there. I don't now. Grand Canyon though is extremely important. The Egyptians were there a lot. The Nazarene went there during the lost years.
Yeah.
He met tribal elders there. So there are hieroglyphs right throughout the Grand Canyon, and there's a lot more there that they won't let anyone go near. But that's all
Nope,
going
I
to be
know.
revealed. Same with Australia. There are hieroglyphs from the Egyptians in lots of places in Australia because they came here too, and so did the Nazarene. And it's same within the Middle East, and yeah. So those 3 motherships were the basis of civilization here. But again, that was all part of the plan. So the originals and the pioneers, the seeding process that created humanity, there was a whole new level that was created as soon as those ships crash landed here. Well, landed here. It was all part of the plan. And there's a very good reason why we're connecting to them now, and the Galactic Federation has been helping us to do that. Reconnect to that technology. And the reason it's so important is not just about the technology, but those of the interference being connected to holding it back. So the systems, you know when we're that close, for instance, Greenland, the fact that the white hats or the benevolent side of all of this is that close, that the system that's been holding it back is almost gone. And that's extremely important. And that gets back to
That's
open
very
contact.
exciting.
Sorry?
That's very
What was that?
exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. They're done. They're done. They're done.
It's so
And
funny watching the spiritual community up in arms hating Trump. Not that I love anybody but I mean, just even taking a stand on everything they're seeing happening. Like, everybody thinks he's the gatekeeper for the pedophiles right now. That's what's like rampaging all over Instagram, the internet, is that he's gatekeeping for the pedophiles. And I'm just like, are you even
I
awake?
can guarantee you that is not true.
Well, I mean,
Don't take
I'm
my
with
word
you.
for it. Be
I
open minded.
absolutely. I'm pretty much with you. And but the thing is, to publicly take a stance like that simply because of what you're seeing, is you still believing the highly manufactured and engineered narrative. So how awake are you really if you're taking a stand like that based on
Well, I
what you
mean, again,
see?
how
You
does the
can't
control
trust
narrative
anything.
work? Well,
Right.
that's the way the control narrative works. We form opinions about things we don't really understand. So there's a whole level of awareness behind all of that a lot of these people don't really have access to. So how do they really know? And that gets back to the whole point of satsang and the methodology of questioning the story of the mind that Byron Katie brought in. You know, if they're all willing to feel that way and think that way and still question it, then they've got something. That's the
Right.
only way to do it. Again, it's not about trying to deny that they feel that way or that they're wrong for thinking that way. It's more about using it in the right way to turn around and question yourself that actually has that viewpoint. Is it the truth of who I am, or am I just serving the agenda by thinking it and being rigid about it? You know, and that's not a question you're going to get an answer straight away to. But that's the whole point of this transition, is to free yourself. Like Ramana said, you can't let it go. This inversion, those of the interference, the entire system, we can't let it go. We can't force it out. All we can do is be willing to see it, and it will let us go. and this is something I was shown actually the other day. Think about it this way: for every single person on this call, there's you, and there's everything you see. You could say that the way the Arcturians put it, you are all the center of the universe. So there's you and everything you are looking at. There's just you and everything else, made
Yes.
in the image and
Everything,
likeness
everything
of God.
is seen through your veil, your experiences, your assumptions, your history, your everything is you pushed out.
Well, think of it this way: if you want the world to change, and you're willing to look at your own thinking about the world, that means the entire world around you changes. As soon as you question the thinking and you come back to the truth of who you are, you've just transformed your relation. You've not only transformed your own personal sense of reality, but you've transformed the entire universe around you, times everybody doing that. So if you want the world around you to change your thinking about the world. Come back to the absolute reality of what the truth is. And that goes for how you see Trump, that goes through how you see everything that's playing out right now. Who's the one seeing it? As soon as you transform your point of view, you transform everything in front of you. Instead of getting caught up in trying to change your experience of the world by making sure everything out there changes. That's, again, the emotional reactionaryism. So you're seeing that playing out with a lot of people in the truther community. But
I
there are
want a
so
little
many of
bit
us.
of
Well, too many people are over it. We're over it. What are we over? We're over doing the same old thing and expecting a different result, not getting it. So how do we change that? And that's what I mean. There's an audience opening up to the true way to deal with this, which is hard to hear when you're in that emotional reactionaryism. There's a lot of people with a big investment in the way to do this. But a lot of us are
I
over that.
do, like Mom said in the chats earlier, the financial aspect of it. I have a cure and a course for $99.99. Like it's all financial. But I was gonna say something. Oh, about you want uh the world to change yourself, or the world around you changes when you change. Like it's a Wayne Dyer quote. Pete loves it. It's like his favorite quote, and I'm butchering it, so I'm going to stop. But there is an element within me knowing that there was a very real they with a very real agenda that believes in absolutely change yourself and you change the world around you. Absolutely. But there is a level of also shit's got to happen out there. Like there's a little, you know what I'm saying?
Look, they go together. Absolutely, they go together. But then again, how do you change yourself? It's not an act of will. It's an act of surrender, and that's why it's so important that the satsang through north. How do you do that? You do it by being willing to look at your own thinking in an open-minded way, and not just be caught up in it. And that's a very new, the way Tom put it. How do it's that question someone asked before? What's the single most important thing that Tom would say to the human race right now to help us? Someone asked him, how do we deal with this? He said, add a fifth element. And he said, all self-aware life is five-sided, five-dimensional. So spirit, pure consciousness, awareness. Add a fifth element means be willing to be objective about everything you think you see. That's a foreign concept to a lot of people. It's something we've never done before, actually. Feel everything you're feeling, think everything you're thinking, and stand back from it at the same time. Add a fifth element, spirit. Remember, what is spirit? Fifth dimension. Everything is one energy. As soon as you're willing to look at everything you think you're seeing and everything you think you're looking at and everything you think you're feeling, you're acknowledging that it's just an interpretation, but it may not be true.
Yeah. Right.
So,
Right.
so that correspondingly creates a physical reaction in the world around you. It's why the Galactic Federation are able to step in directly. It's why those of the interference plan isn't working, because too many people have done that. Too many people have just got the question, what's really going on here? And
Teresa says change within affects outside, not the other way around. And then Mia, yay, gave me the quote. She said, I believe that Wayne Dyer quote is change the way you look at things and the things you look at change. It's a
Great way
great
to,
quote. Yeah.
yeah. And again, we need a clear methodology to do that. That's why when I asked for help, we were taken through this process of being shown 4 modalities. And that's very important because it's full circle. It's the whole, these 4 modalities cover the entire spectrum. So reversing the inversion, true north is satsang. You aren't your mind. You aren't who you think you are. That every problem you have is coming from a false sense of who you are. Then everything you see comes from that. And there's a whole range of things that Ramana Maharshi said around that help you to kind of put a big picture context around it. Then there's the questioning the story. He said, allow the feeling to be there, allow the story to be there, question the story. Then the method of doing that that Byron Katie brought in goes into much more detail about how to do that. Then the generational trauma, the personal trauma that we're feeling, yes, loving what is.
Did
Very
everybody
important.
get their book? Did you do
It's an
your homework
instruction.
and get your book?
Get a handle on ask 4 questions of everything you think you feel, all your beliefs, whatever comes up at the time. Ask 4 questions about it. There's a way to do each question. There's quite a few aspects. Maybe a list to each. Each question has multiple answers. Then you turn it around, and there are multiple turnarounds. And it's in the turnaround that you kind of undo the stranglehold the feelings had on you, the thinkings had on you. It pushes you back into that objectivity, but it gives it that self, that sacred masculine. It gives you a direct experience of it that starts to build up. Then the personal trauma of the impact that life's had on you, it's those 2 things will start to release feelings, emotional energy from trauma. Then you can deal with that more directly through family system constellation work brought in by Bert Hellinger. The net effect of that is divide and conquer. Remember, divide and conquer is their strategy. Well, what's the first illusion of polarity, masculine and feminine? And that's where what David Deida spoke about with the nature of the masculine principle as opposed to the feminine principle. Well, what is it? How are they different? And how do you get your mind and your heart connection to work together properly? One of the great things he said is life for a man is a woman. Life for a woman is a man. So if you're not clear on, as a woman, if you're not clear on how to relate to the masculine principle within yourself, how you move through life. Well, how you move through life will reflect that imbalance. So how do you get back to a balanced form of masculine and feminine within yourself? Read the code, read the impact of that in front of you, because it's all written in front of you in your belief system about life. You can use that to reverse engineer your own distortion within yourself. So they all work together. We've just never been given a plan of how to actually deal with the transition. But like I said, there are more and more people willing to hear it. I've never seen it before. I've been doing this since I was 18 months old, and I've never seen it before. I've never seen so many people who can actually hear it.
The curiosity, the capacity to be able to even entertain these things is just like grown like exponentially.
Yeah. And you're going to see it. It's that exponential growth curve is just getting started. It's going to go through the roof over this next 12 months. And again, the physical is a reflection of us. So the disclosure process around ETs, around those of the interference, around all of it is a reflection of that willingness to see the truth.
It was when you brought up yesterday. So I spoke about this last week. I'm in this course, this 6-week Heal Your Vision Naturally course. That I found through Kelly Brogan, and I know I'm not. I should be doing this, but I can't see yet. I'm still baby steps, right? So I'm in the first week of it, and I'm going around without glasses on. I'm using my pinhole glasses. There's eye patches. There's all this. I did eye tests in my dining room today. Like there's just all these wonderful things to heal your vision naturally. But you pointed out to me that it is no mistake, Katie, that you chose to take off your glasses At the same time, the glasses or the veil or the shielding or the secrets are coming off for humanity across the planet. Like, it's not a mistake that I did that now. And not just me. I mean, I'm sure this is happening in so many people's lives. Other analogies or other synchronicities. But this was a very glaring one that, thank God you said it to me, because I wouldn't have made the connection. Taking off the glasses so that I'm able to see the joy of life, the truth of life. At the same time, the glasses are falling in the world. Isn't that crazy?
Right. Well, look at that conversation we had yesterday. You were feeling really vulnerable, and you'd been going through a process of like feeling a lot of, like you were saying, you were crying a lot, and right on the eclipse and the transition out of the last 2025 transforming officially into 2026, because they're very different frequencies, and the impact of that and the solar storms coming in, and you went and did a workshop that created this. Because what's the problem? What's the ego that controls all about managing vulnerability? As soon as you doubt yourself, you're vulnerable. That vulnerability is innocence. That's the openness to life coming to you in all its glory. As soon as you need to control things because you're not sure, you shut it right down. So the way we experience that is we don't want to be vulnerable. So as soon you actually intuitively decided to start a process of being taken into that vulnerability, and taking your glasses off really triggered that release.
It's been
That's
so emotional.
That's all about what this little moment we're in now, around the 17th to the 20th, is all about. And, like I said to you, one of the big problems people have is that feeling of vulnerability and overwhelm is, if you don't trust yourself, or what's the opposite look like? That you are guided. If you don't trust yourself and you don't trust life, what's the opposite look like? That you are guided and you have the capacity to meet that guidance. Now, something in you did that right at the perfect time. And now your mind can look, because this is what happens. Your heart connection always knows. It's your mind figures it out later. That's what Tom meant by, it's important to name it. You can actually look back at that with a whole new perspective and go, how did I know that? Wow. Something in me must have connected to a reality that it's again, darkness is an absence of light. Now your mind is starting to connect with the fact that you're guided. That direct experience is all you need. As soon as your mind starts reconnecting with that reality, you get out of your own way in a more powerful way.
Yeah.
Something in you relaxes.
I wouldn't have connected the dots, though, until you did. And I haven't stopped thinking about it since you told me that yesterday, because there truly is no mistake, because I've been interested in the natural healing of my eyesight for a long time. I don't ever want to wear these again. This is my goal, and I'm gonna do it. But I would not have made the connection to humanity. It was like when we renovated my bathroom, and you guys, and you, Sam, everybody, like you, Mike, you were telling me, like, the tear down and the rebuild of the waterworks in my home, and my crying for 6 years and rebuilding me from the inside out. There's no disconnect. There's no separation. There's no synchronicities. There are no coincidences, and there are no accidents. Like, all of that was my spiritual path expressing in physicality. And that's what this is with what's happening. It's astonishing when you have the eyes to see these things in that way.
And look, when you do something like renovating your bathroom, it has an impact on you, because your home is a reflection of that vulnerability, that heart connection to the planet. So your home is like an expression of that. So that's the whole principle of feng shui. the imbalance or the balance will be expressed within your dynamic in the home. So your relationship to that physicality, and your own emotional reality can have a direct impact on each other. So when you're at the right point, you'll do something like renovate your bathroom, but that'll actually also have an impact. It'll take you to a deeper level in your own spiritual development.
It
You
all,
know,
this vision course, this renovating the bathroom, like travel, like everything in the physical brings up so much emotion and vulnerability and like awareness of how not in control any of us are, and at the same time completely and totally guided. Like it's the weirdest, what's the word,
yeah,
juxtaposition or
yeah,
oxymoron. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. It's
yes,
you're completely held and completely out of control. Like the control is not yours to have. So,
that's the
but you're guided. So just trust and just woosah.
yeah. Again, control is about future past, so you're not in the moment, and that's one of the core principles of satsang is being fully present in this moment right now. Is the more fully present you are in this moment right now, the more you see of this moment right now, the more consciousness you have available to actually receive the reality of what's happening right now. Because we miss a lot. Again, we filter out so much of our experience by our thinking. And like I said, that's coming from our past experiences or miscalculations, misjudgments, misunderstandings about experiences we've had in the past that lock us up in the past because they're not resolved, and they have to
Yeah.
be resolved in order to bring that little chunk of awareness back into this moment. So the less of us is stuck in the past, the more of us is available. So the way that
Yeah.
stuckness in the past manifests is we need to be in control. We need to know what the next step is, and a step after that, and a step after that before we take the next step. We want to see where it's all going to lead. And if we can't really feel confident about that, we tend to hold back, and that's all based on the idea that you're not right. There's self doubt and fear of the unknown. That your own, it's questionable. But what you're trying to achieve by doing that, you actually destroy your ability to achieve it by doing that. When you let
You
go
mean
of that,
by clutching
by
on to
trying,
control?
yeah,
Okay.
by trying to control, you're trying to get an outcome, the life I want that will make me feel good about life and myself. What you do by controlling life is destroy any ability to get there,
Yeah.
and you'll create the opposite actually. So you experience life as tough. You experience the destination. It's like you just can never quite get there, and the harder you try, the worse it gets in a lot of ways. The opposite is true. When you let go of control, you start to detox, and that's intense. Like the feeling be there question in the story, that'll come up in a big way. But the more of you is available in the moment, the more of you knows, oh, this step now, and it becomes peaceful, very peaceful. You start to realize that you don't need to know everything ahead of time because when the time's right, you'll know it. And there's
Yeah.
something in you
Yeah.
gets. The less you control it, the more.
Relaxes.
Yeah, absolutely. Now
Yeah.
it's going to
Something in
feel
you
the
relaxes. It's like I was saying earlier. I get triggered by so much right now because the things people are talking about, I could talk about it, and but I'm not. Well, I mean, here I am, but like there's this story around it, so I'm observing the triggers, and then like I said early in the show, I'm like, I just have to keep remembering this is a course correcting universe. Nothing for you will pass you by. Everything is perfect. There are no mistakes. Trust God, have faith. It's a lot of like parenting myself, right? It's
yeah, that's
parenting.
right.
That's what it is. It's parenting who I think I'm being, who I'm, I'm just
Well, I mean that's it.
learning.
There's two of us. There's the adult and the child, and
Yeah.
that's the split. So it's like literally, yeah, parenting yourself. Turning around and facing the child, what's really running us, in other words, brings out the fear, and meeting that in the right way is what brings the two together and brings you back to yourself, so that you're not split anymore. You're not stuck in the past in your childhood, that you're here right now. But it does
Right.
mean meeting the feeling and letting the story be there around it,
Yeah.
and then seeing through. And that's why Ramana said you can't let it go. What you can do is be willing to see it. It will let you go. And that's what everyone's going through. Basically, that's fundamentally the transition. We're all going
Yeah.
through the same process. We weren't
Yeah.
parented, so now we need to parent ourselves.
Yes. Absolutely.
We weren't had.
39 on the call. My dad's birth year. Whenever I see 39, I know Dad's saying hi to me. And so I see 7. His birthday was 7/7/39. So whenever I see 7/7/39, I know it's Dad. I'm really tired. Do you have anything you want to share or say to people or anything?
Well, just that. Yeah, just that. Well, actually, there is one thing I've been told to do, and I'll offer people. I'm putting together a website. It's not quite ready. I'm hoping to have it finished, and there's an email address coming with that too. But what I can offer is 5. Initially 5. I'll probably expand it to 10, but I've just got to get a handle on it first, to coach people to connect with these four modalities in the way I was. Now, I'm not a counsellor, and I'm not here to tell anyone how to live their life, but I asked for help, and I was taken through a process that's been my entire life, and I've been connected to these 4 ways of seeing it, what I'm experiencing, and it's what I can offer is to help other people do that. So
you're offering one-on-ones, some
one-on-one,
limited one-on-ones with people. I think
that's right.
that's fantastic and about time. I said to you on the call yesterday, I've had over 3 years of one-on-ones. So when you get really well-known and famous, I'm still not going to pay.
Right. Yes. Well,
I'll pay. Maybe I'll pay.
There will be a charge for it. I need to charge for that. So
Sure.
if that's something you're open to doing, then I can give you an email address to contact me at, and just let me know, and I'll let you know the details.
I think you got one customer already. Mike said hi to my dad. You do, Margot. She said, "Oh, fabulous! I will be there." I love
Great.
that.
All right. And it's an ongoing thing, because day-to-day life happens. So if I don't get back to you straight away, I'll get back to you very quickly. But as this unfolds, whatever's coming up at the time, we can sort of use these 4 modalities to meet that, and help you sort of move. Basically, my role, like I've said to you all along, my role in your life is to make myself redundant. What I know, what I've been shown, just pass it on to you so you can internalize it and you can go direct. And that's what I was shown, how to go direct with life, pass that on and keep on passing it on. So that you can use the experience you're going through to reconnect with who you are and what life is in a way you don't need anybody else anymore. So internalize it. So as things come up, you just contact me and I'll get back in touch with you, and we'll meet it as it plays out.
Awesome. Oh yeah, Brian just said I'm in. That's so fantastic. The other thing is too, I've spent 3 years talking to people about you, sharing you with the world. I could have access to help you with navigating that too, if it ever gets out of hand or whatever like that. I can be the emailer, the receiver of the emails. We'll figure it out as we go along.
We'll figure it out as we go along. Yeah, that's right. So that's why I thought I'll start with 5, just so I can get a handle on the timing, and because I don't want to dilute it to the point where I can't deliver for each person. But then we can expand it from there.
Oh yeah.
So it's the first.
This could be very exciting. This could be exactly.
So if you're in, I know we didn't put the link in, and the email address, I should have it. I've almost finished it. It should be active by the end of today. I'm hoping is if you get a pen ready, and I should have put the
No,
link in
no,
here,
just say
but
it. No, I'll do it. You say it slowly
right.
and I'll put it in the chats.
So,
www.
well, the email address itself is sacred
Oh,
self.
one more time.
Yeah, sacred self at fourpillarscoaching.com. So it's the number 4 and then pillars coaching, all one word, sorry, not .com, .net.
.net.
Sacred self at fourpillarscoaching.net.
I think I got it.
Great. So that'll be active. I've almost finished it. I tried to get it active before the show started, but didn't quite get there. So that should be active in the next few hours, I'm hoping. And that'll connect to the website. So there'll be more information coming on the website. But you know, we don't need that in order to start. So just contact me at that email address and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Love you.
Love you too. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
It's
Mwah.
all,
I guess
if
we'll just
everyone knew
hang
what
up.
was happening, they'd be dancing in the
Say that
street.
again? Yes.
If everyone really
If-
knew what was happening,
That's the first thing you said to me 3 years ago. If humanity truly, truly understood what was happening right now, what we are living in, we'd be dancing in the streets. And I've never
Yes.
forgotten that. I've never forgotten you telling me that. That's very
Yeah.
empowering. Roseanne will like that one. She probably has heard it already on all these shows. All right. Mwah. Love you.
love you guys. See you next week.